Hi, Paul, and welcome. Well, the first thing that I think your audience would like to know is, what is the Paul McManus story?
I like the question. You say the Paul McManus story, I feel like I'm famous or something, and by no means am I. Born and raised in Southern California. I actually come from the poorest county in California called El Centro. Currently I'm in San Diego, and I was destined to take over the family business, 3 generations, office supplies, office furniture. And in 2014, I got, I don't want to say bored, but I was looking for better opportunities, essentially. And I discovered a program called Book Yourself Solid, which is based off a New York Times bestselling book called Book Yourself Solid by Michael Port. And that just really got me excited. So I joined their mentoring program, their coaching program. And that's where I met you, actually, back, I think, in 2014. Mm-hmm. And from there, my world completely changed. So I ended up walking away from my 3-generation business to essentially be a Book Yourself Solid coach originally. But what that led to was me deciding to claim my expertise in the area of LinkedIn. So since 2015, I've been running my own marketing agency online, and I've been helping people use LinkedIn to grow their business, specifically to land what I call high value clients. Interestingly, in the first year or so, first couple of years, I initially worked with coaches and consultants because that was just a natural market for me. I knew nothing about financial advisors, nothing about life insurance. And it was in 2016 that my target market found me. What I mean by that is in 2016, a gentleman, his name is Shane Walls. He's a life insurance producer, financial advisor, and he joined my then online program for LinkedIn. And one day he reached out to me and said, this is what I do. I'm in your group program. Can we talk about doing something together? I think there's an opportunity. And at first it's like, I don't really know who this guy is and whatnot. And I wasn't very interested, but I said, hey, I'll have a conversation. And that conversation changed my life. And so at the time, he was already successful. He was doing a couple $100,000 of target premium. And over the next 2.5 years, I worked with him, helping him use LinkedIn effectively. And he was able to grow his practice from $200,000 of target premium to $2.5 million of target premium in roughly 2 years. And so it created this super successful story. But as you can imagine, his producer group, his insurance carrier, et cetera, they're like, okay, what's going on here? And that led to some introductions. And in 2017, I was invited to this really elite group of advisors. And from there, my whole business model changes. So I found that the people who I now enjoy working the most with and who can best benefit from my expertise is financial advisors, and very specifically financial advisors that do permanent life insurance. And typically they'll do a mix of life insurance, AUM, and annuities, but primarily it's that life insurance piece that's become my specialty in helping them land high value clients using LinkedIn.
Wow, that's amazing. And what made you decide to write the $1 Million Producer book?
The $1 Million Producer is actually the second version. So in 2020, I wrote a book called Smart $1 Million Producer. And it's more or less the same content as what is in this book, except, of course, we're 2 years later and things have changed. The key difference, though, is that in the former version, I did it as a collaboration with a gentleman named Matt Zagula. I do a lot of work with his advisors. And so we branded that book for the Smart Advisor Network. This book, that if you're watching this video, and I'm sure you have the book, in this book, it's more or less the same concepts, except now it's updated to 2022. But I also very specifically wrote this to be what I call FMO neutral. So today I work with a number of different FMOs, different advisors. But it's essentially the past 7 years of my experience in working with hundreds and hundreds of people, but hundreds and hundreds of financial advisors, and everything that they've been doing successfully and not so much successfully on LinkedIn to land high value clients, and distilling those key concepts, those key lessons, so that really any advisor who wants to turn LinkedIn into that gold mine, so to speak, can get some of those key ideas that they need And if that makes sense and they want to take the next step, ultimately the next step would be to have a conversation with me. But it's really just to paint what's possible. If you don't have the vision and you don't have the belief and the confidence that you can do something, then you're going to get the same results. And so this to me is meant to be a wake-up call to an advisor who is doing $100,000, $200,000 a year, already has some success, but I want them to see what's really possible. I want them to see that how they can tap into LinkedIn, similar to what Shane did, and really create these seven-figure business, create the lifestyle that they really want on their own terms. And so this is like my manifesto. My mission is to help them, the right people, create those results for themselves.
Awesome. And what, Paul, do you see are the biggest challenges that financial advisors face when it comes to getting appointments and closing clients, especially in this new virtual online world that we're all in?
Facebook theoretically holds out this potential to be able to target based off of income to some degree, off of demographics. And so you can theoretically pick out your ideal target client, but the people that end up coming through the door tend not to be that ideal target client. So there's a lot of frustration when it comes to Facebook. So let's shift over to LinkedIn and how LinkedIn is different. LinkedIn's changed a lot. When the pandemic hit, I like to say that everybody and their mother jumped on to LinkedIn, financial advisors, because they're like, hey, we need to generate leads, and a lot of the FMOs got involved, falsely told their people, we have the right solution for you. We know what we're doing, which was complete BS, right? They were just winging it and figuring it out. So a couple things happened there. One is that advisors got on there excitedly, but ended up not getting great results. At the same time, LinkedIn, so all these people on the platform sending out direct messages and different things, so they started to restrict people's ability to do that. And so what seemed for many people to be a goldmine initially ended up losing its luster to some degree. I've been on LinkedIn since 2015. I've stayed on LinkedIn, and I've had to work through some of these challenges, such as some of those restrictions. But because this is my platform of choice, I found solutions around it. So one of the things that some people that are active on LinkedIn may have encountered is a restriction in terms of how many connection requests you can send out. Not a problem. We've been able to fix that for our clients, so we don't have that limitation. What the bigger challenge for people is, once you get past the technical stuff, right? So the technical stuff, you can hire someone to do the technical stuff for you. You can outsource it. Okay, LinkedIn's working for you from that standpoint. But fundamentally, what is LinkedIn? Well, it's a communications platform, probably the best database in the world. So you can target who you want to target to a degree. You can then send them messages. You can engage them. But then what's the problem? Well, no one's responding, or no one's booking appointments, or someone says I'm interested, but then they don't actually show up for an appointment. So you start running into similar problems that people on Facebook had. What the real problem is not LinkedIn. It's actually the messaging, the hook, and how you're essentially attracting the people to want to talk to you. And more fundamentally, the way that you demonstrate that they want to talk to you is that they're taking the actions, they're scheduling on your calendar, they're going through some hoops to do that, they're qualifying themselves, they're taking all those actions so that they're demonstrating that they're interested, they're motivated, they want to talk to you about solving a problem, not about this fake networking stuff, but they actually have a problem and they're interested to see how you might help them. So the setup is so critically important, because if you don't have that down right, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to not get the results. You're going to be like, this doesn't work. And it can work if you go about it the right way.
So Paul, in this scenario, how does the wealth beyond taxes piece fit in?
I decided back in 2021 to essentially create my own book. I call it a LinkedIn author program. And the reason I call it that is because I created a service, a turnkey service that helps advisors publish their own book. And then we tie it into LinkedIn as the lead generation source. So let me first unpack what that book is. Here's an example of the book program I have. It's called Wealth Beyond Taxes. And there's a couple things you might notice here. One is that first, by the title, that says advisors and insurance professionals can help clients with many things, but what's the pain point that tends to get people's attention and tends to get the more affluent people's attention? Taxes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Taxes are one of the things that they help solve. But there's so many other benefits to it. There's all kinds of things that are built into it. but it's how do you get someone into the conversation, right? If I say, hello, I sell life insurance and I'd like to schedule an appointment with you. That's a heavy lift. But if you say, I'm the author of Wealth Beyond Taxes, if taxes are a concern for you, can I send you a complimentary copy of my book? Yeah, I'd like a copy. Thank you. Now, a couple things happen there, though, is that one, to be effective on LinkedIn, you really need to have a specific target market. And on LinkedIn, that tends to be a vertical industry, such as medical professionals, pharmaceutical professionals, medical device professionals, attorneys, et cetera. So in this case, you can see that the target is pharmaceutical professionals. You can see that the author's name's here. But here, check this out. Same cover, same book, different target industry, different author. So we've made this process so turnkey that with very little effort on the part of an advisor, they can become a published author very, very, very quickly, really within 2 weeks. And a couple other elements here is that the book is designed, it's 80 to 100 pages. It's completely customized to the advisor, so they have editorial control of it, but most of the work, heavy lifting is done for them. We use Amazon as our distributor and publisher, which means that we can print on demand a single book, and we can send it to a physical copy of the book to a prospect for less than $4. So now think about this, is that we're taking what's the benefit of LinkedIn, which is the database and the ability to communicate with the right audience. We're now creating an offer, which is essentially, if taxes are a concern for you, can I send you a complimentary copy of my new book? You have status built in. You're getting a lot more lead flow because that's a easier offer. And oftentimes you'll see that they'll come back and say, yeah, here's my email address. No, I need your physical mailing address to send this. So they have to make that second commitment to, okay, I'm comfortable providing that. So you're getting qualification, you're getting commitment. We then send them the book. And then 7 days later, we then follow up with them and say, hey, through LinkedIn, hope you got the book. So-and-so would like to schedule a 15-minute call with you. So now what happens is, because the book is so relatively short, they've received it, physical copy, so they're aware that they got it. It's not like a PDF. They have a copy, it's on their desk, they're not throwing it away. They may or may not have read the whole thing, but they've at least skimmed through it and gotten a pretty good idea about what it is you do, how you can help them. And if they're feeling that this is something that's useful for them, when we do that follow-up and it's non-threatening, just come in, let's schedule a 15-minute call. They're thinking, I get to speak with this author, and yeah, I'm kind of interested in that stuff. And so you get this 15-minute phone call, but it's completely on your terms now. They're still going, they're scheduling, they're filling out the thing, but now they're that much more educated leading up to that conversation. Is that if you just do cold lead generation, even if you get to talk to someone, they're so relatively cold that it's such a heavy lift in order to move them forward. You can do it successfully, but it's a heavy lift. Whereas if you get the setup done well, you can close at 70, 80%.
What's the biggest misconception people have about what you do?
People that don't know me, they immediately think, oh, marketing's all the same, LinkedIn's all the same. They essentially assume it's a commodity. And rightfully so. If you're on LinkedIn, you probably get hit up all the time by different people that have some form of LinkedIn marketing agency and say, hey, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that. That's a given. What I've done, what I do is fairly unique in the sense that I exclusively work with financial advisors, and amongst that, I work with people that do life insurance as part of their mix. And so I actually understand exactly what they're doing, and I understand their sales cycle from start to finish. I'm not personally a financial advisor, but because I've been working with them exclusively for the past 6-7 years, I know the process better than most financial advisors. And I don't mean that to be like arrogant or anything. It's just, it's true because I've helped so many people. So I see the whole thing as a holistic thing. It's lead is like step one of a multi-step process. Another misconception is LinkedIn works, LinkedIn doesn't work. We've talked about this already, but LinkedIn's a communications tool. It's like, imagine having a phone and be like, phone in a yellow pages. This doesn't work. Well, that's pretty open-ended. Does the phone work? Can you call people? Is there names? It's like, what are you telling them? And so the misconception is that just having LinkedIn is like going to be a magic bullet for you. And that's not. It's not. It's a tool, but it's what do you apply to the tool? And do you have something that people can say yes to? And then once they say yes to that, can you fulfill that first yes? And can you bring them to the second one, which is the call? And then from there, can you get them to say yes to the next step in terms of the actually advising them step? And so there's a series of steps that have to happen. So if you only look at lead generation in that silo, disconnected from everything else, the chances of failure are pretty high. But if you actually have an approach that is consistent, congruent throughout, your chance of success are much, much higher.
That's awesome. What are some of the key insights you've gained over the course of your career, Paul?
Love that question. You really want to surround everyone that you interact with on a daily basis, from if you have employees or team members or company association, vendors, what have you, referral partners. The people around you should be a good fit for you. If you're going into work every day and be like, I got to do this, but I don't enjoy it, it's hard to be successful. It's hard to break through to that next level. And so to the extent that you have standards for who you choose to invest your time and energy in, you can manifest that pretty well when you are intentional about it. And as you surround yourself by those people, and work becomes increasingly enjoyable, sales becomes increasingly enjoyable, marketing becomes increasingly enjoyable, the money you make becomes increasingly enjoyable. Then when you set those big goals to say, hey, I'm going to go from 6 to 7 figures, it's actually doable. It's not the individual component pieces that do it. It's that belief and that desire, that burning desire to get there, that really is what makes it possible. And so I like to play a role in that process for the right people. But at the end of the day, it's them as an individual. What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to create? Do I have that burning desire? Am I willing to do the work? And when you get that individual, you add some components, such as what I help people with. It's so satisfying and gratifying to see that person really create that enormous success in their life. So I find that very I get a lot of satisfaction watching that.
Final advice as we're going into 2022. What would you advise financial advisors to focus on?
I think it ties back into what I said earlier. It's that you have to be very clear on what you want to accomplish. If you go in with muddy goals, chances are you're going to get similar results. But if you go in with a very specific goal that you're committed to achieving, then the next step is to surround yourself with people that have done it, can demonstrate that they've done it, have helped others do it. And I'm one of those people potentially, but there's many others. That ultimately comes down to who's a good fit for you. But you absolutely want to surround yourself with people that can help you get to where you want to go that much quicker. And so do not try to go it alone. I mean, it's not only stressful and not that much fun, but the chance of success are that much less. And so surround yourself with people that you believe in, you trust in, and you believe they can help you get the results that you want to achieve for yourself.
Awesome interview, Paul. Thank you so much for your sage advice. Really appreciate everything that you shared here today.
Awesome. I appreciate it too.